Hello and welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. And today we have a Japanese whiskey on the cask. It's a Nikka From the Barrel. And if you look at the bottle, it looks really small. Is that 0.2? No, that's actually 0.5. Yeah, it's very square shaped from the top. And it's very compact. But you don't really lose any volume here, except that over at the top you can stack it very neatly and have a lot of this whiskey on one case. So yeah, nice to transport from very far away, from the faraway island of Hokkaido and the city of Sendai in the Fukushima region. And the Nikka they don't have a distillery. They too have two distilleries in the company of Nikka, and the malt part comes from Yoichi, and some malt comes from Miyagikyo as well, but also some grain whiskey, and that gets blended together to form this double matured blended whiskey. Unfortunately, double matured is the maximum we know about the maturation. We don't know what kind of double maturation the whiskey has been matured in. All we know is 51.4% ABV is quite high. Is that cask strength or is that directly from the barrel? I don't know. Sounds a bit low, but maybe they fill the casks with a lower ABV than we know from Scotland or from most of the Americans. Yeah, so that was pretty much it. It's a bit of a beginner's whiskey for a Scottish whiskey because, not Scottish, Japanese whiskey. Japanese whiskey became really expensive. They became very good in quality, and with the rise of single malt, and unfortunately they do produce a lot of blended whiskey, but they do produce mostly blended whiskeys from companies that have two distilleries. And with that rise, they really rose in value, and now they are very expensive. So this here is very small and still pretty affordable. You don't spend $100 on that bottle. You can spend like $40 on that bottle, 35 if you find it really good or at a really good place. So this could be a beginner's. You don't get 0.7 liters, so you only have half a liter. Means if it doesn't taste good for you, then yeah, you didn't waste that much money either. And this is a typical Japanese one. It feels like bourbon cask maturation is one of the double maturation. I would say, yeah, definitely. It's sweet. It has vanilla, but also there is a bit of a oakiness going on. There's a bit of a fruitiness going on. Some spiciness going on as well. A bit of a nuance there, but it feels like it feels like a balanced whiskey. And that's what the Japanese whiskey makers focus on. They want to make the perfect whiskey. And the perfect whiskey, they think, is balanced out. It has a bit of everything, of every flavor. So, yeah. The flavor is a bit more intense than I expected, but that's probably because it's 51.4% ABV. It's 103 proof, and yeah, it has a bit of an aromatic touch, maybe a little bit of a smoky touch to it as well. The Yoichi distillery in the far north of Hokkaido, that does have smoky parts in it, so it can be that there is smoke in it, but it's a very nuanced smokiness. Most of it is a nice sweetness, some flowers, a little bit of fruitiness, like apples or candied apples, and yeah, good amount of normal amount of oak. So it's just a very nicely balanced whiskey. You could probably compare it to a good balanced Scotch whiskey. That's a good comparison. A little bit more sweet than I expected. So if you've ever always tasted bourbon, or if you've already tasted Scotch, this is not far away from Scotch. If you want to have an entry point to Japanese whiskey, I would actually recommend it to you because it's not as costly as, let's say, really big aged statement bottles from Japan. You pay $100-200 for these bottles nowadays. So this one is less in total volume and less in price as well. So it's a good entry point for starting with Japanese whiskey. Yeah, that was it for this week. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.